Hi there, and thanks for tuning in to this audio version of the latest blog, Off-Grid and Ignorant in Portugal. I have a small whining dog next to me, Albie, who's getting braver by the day. It's nice to have 3 dogs. You can never have too many animals, can you, Albie? No. Anyway, this week's dispatch is called Real People and How They Do Things. I've recently realised we don't live like real people. When real people have a problem, they call someone, a workman, an expert, a master technician, Ghostbusters, or whoever it might be, and they come with some tools and they solve it. It costs some money and takes some time to arrange, but it works. They know what they're doing, and grumbles aside, they get things working again, and real life goes on. But somehow I found myself in the position where I'm kind of responsible for everything, and when stuff breaks, I have to work out for myself how to fix it. I'm not entirely sure how that happened. Obviously, the not being connected to anything thing means we're pretty much off most work people's grids when it comes to the usual sorting of things like gas and electric. We're very lucky to have some amazing people who we've met over the past few years who are the real experts. But I don't want to bother them for the small things, which I can probably do myself if I'm careful, or if I find the right YouTube channel. In retrospect, though, taking my DeWalt drill apart to repair it was a bad idea. But I really didn't know it was going to be that fiddly or complicated to put back together. It now just about works, but slips and makes a terrible grinding noise. Given that getting this place up and running, and keeping it running, falls under my area of responsibility, I do pay a lot of attention to what the professionals do when they're here. Much more so than real people might do. They trust the experts to get on with it unsupervised and don't need to know how they do whatever it is they're doing. Perhaps my engagement and enthusiastic nodding confuses them into thinking I understand what's happening, can remember it, and might even be able to do it myself next time, as it will save them the hassle of a home visit. And we are bootstrapping things, as they called it at the Stanford Graduate School of Business classes we were lucky enough to sit in on while they're on a journalism fellowship. In other words, we're doing it on the cheap. If I can do it myself next time, then we save money. All this perhaps explains why, when the solar hot water pump started making a very expensive sounding noise, Guido, the German boiler master, felt confident enough to tell me I could just do it myself. You just need 2 pairs of pliers the right size, he said, after watching the video of the screaming water system, and recommended a new pump. I'm sure there's a lot more to it than that, but he is very busy at the moment, and I mean, what could possibly go wrong? One thing we can do now very successfully by ourselves is roast chestnuts on an open fire. This year I celebrated Verão de São Martinho, St. Martin's summer, officially now one of my favourite times of year, by buying a metal chestnut roasting pan. I say that, but we could have smoked some salmon as well while we're at it. The first use of the fire filled the entire place with smoke until I gave the chimney a good old brush and we were back in business. St. Martin's Day, November the 11th, marks the opening of the Talhas, the fresh, natural wine still made in huge clay amphora here in the Alentejo, as it was by the Romans 2,000 years ago. We made our now annual pilgrimage to Vila de Frades, the spiritual home of Talhas, the town of the friars, to taste the new wine and meet some winemakers. And this year, we were invited to take part in a couple of films being made by famous Portuguese wine writer Madalena Vidigal, called Rota Tesouros de Alentejo, the treasures of the Alentejo route. Our programmes aren't out yet, but there's a sneaky peek at episode 2, in Portuguese of course, on the website, along with loads of photographs and videos and other little bits and bobs. So please go on to Off-Grid and Ignorant in Portugal, as always on Substack, to sign up and also to see what's been going on. Each of these episodes looks at a different aspect of Alentejo wines, and we were invited along as special guests to learn more about old vines and Talha wines at Vidigueira Cooperativo, that's the Vidigueira Regional Wine Cooperative, and Rosim, amazing winery where Pedro Ribeiro makes great wines with clay pots. He also hosts the Amphora Wine Day every year with wine producers from all over the world who make wine with clay, and it gets bigger every year. Again, it was a great day out. It's a story with wine and song that you can hear come to life in Going Roman, episode 4 of our podcast series, Anna and Al's Big Portuguese Wine Adventure. Yes, I'm giving it another plug today. I wrote about our trip to Vila de Faradas for the opening of the Talhers last year, and it's great to look back at this time of year and see how far we've come in the property and how traumatic everything was this time last year. Hopefully we'll soon be hosting Talhar winemakers here in the Val des Australes now that everything's finished and we're ready to start our first events. St Martin's Day also tends to coincide with a spell of beautiful sunshine, warm temperatures and a surge of growth for all the plants before the temperatures drop. The meteorological explanation is a little wobble in the high pressure zone over the Azores, one of the most important influences on Portugal's weather. The Atlantic is the warmest it's been all year, thanks to the warmer southern waters being pushed north during this annual transition into winter. Maybe we'll even venture to the beach this weekend. I spent a good amount of time down a rabbit hole investigating the story of St Martin's progression from plain old Hungarian Martin to patron saint of the poor, of tailors, of winemakers, and curiously both soldiers and conscientious objectors. Oh, and of France. It's all linked with Halloween, Martinmas, bonfires, remembrance, tricks and treats, and some Polish competitive croissant baking. Do look it up. This year, the temperatures quickly dropped after the wine jars had been opened and all efforts in the valley were focused on making sure all the dry wood was chopped and stashed under cover before the real rain arrives. My old pal Hugh Jennings was on a whistle-stop volunteering trip to help, and after some back-breaking hours with the splitting axe, we had enough prepared to see us through winter. We also took the chance to make sure the rainwater collection systems were properly set up. It's a vitally important part of our water plan to collect loads of rain over winter, and so Hugh spent hours siliconing the gaps between our solar panels while I secured the guttering and pipes we'd installed last year so we can increase the area of rainfall collection. This time we have a reception tank and a proper pump to take all the water we can up to the storage on the hill so we don't waste any. The pillow tank's already grown, courtesy of some October rain, and now I have meters installed to see just how well the system is running and to keep tabs on our water collection. Full is 200,000 litres. Fingers crossed. I guess there are some things I'm becoming an expert at. Living sustainably, that we are certainly doing. Oh, and I wrote back to Guido asking if it was really all that easy to just change the solar water pump without emptying the whole system of very hot water. "You're right, that will probably be too much of a problem for you," he replied, while requesting more photos of the offending items. The dials revealed perhaps a leak in the system, and the pump might just be whining about it rather than failing. Maybe it's something I can solve after all. Watch this space. Thanks again for listening. Go on the website, check out what we're up to, and I'll see you next time.